we're going to start going through this. I'm going to reshare it. We're going to go through this KPI spreadsheet.
Okay.
And then after the call, I'm going to email you the KPI spreadsheet. We don't put that in the toolbox because a lot of people look at it and they're like, whoa, this is way too complicated, So what I will tell you about this before we get into it here, as you're looking at this projections tab, this looks like it is extremely complicated. I assure you it is not. I built this for my business for really one reason. And the main reason is I want to track the health of the business. So what does that mean, right? It's not this, what's on this spreadsheet is not what you're giving to the IRS. Even though we're tracking revenue, even though we're tracking expenses and payroll and all this stuff, this is not what's going to the IRS. This is how healthy is my business? How many jobs am I actually doing? How much revenue did I actually do? Where are my expenses going? How many labor hours am I putting in? Are my guys putting in? How much time am I working on the business versus in the business? This should be a snapshot of, hey, is my business running smoothly? Am I hitting my goals? Rather than a replacement for QuickBooks or a replacement for tracking your expenses in a different Excel sheet that you would give to your accountant. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when you see the spreadsheet, I want you to think business health. That's really what it is.
Okay.
So the first thing we've got here, and I'll encourage you to do this once I send it to you, go ahead, put your company name, create a mission statement. Feel free to steal this one. I went into ChatGPT and I said, give me a 3-sentence mission statement for a junk removal business. Honestly, I copied and pasted and I haven't even read it. I just put it in there. But yeah, put a mission statement in there. I have a mission statement for my business, and I'm be more than happy to share it with you and read it to you, so you could get an idea of what it is. And then I want you to start breaking down your goals. Hey, in fact, like, tell me right now, like, what would be a good goal for you over the next 12 months? Like, in 1 year, I want this business and I want Casey to look like X.
I'd be good around like $10,000 a month.
Okay, so $240,000 in revenue. Well, let me ask you this. So $240,000 in revenue means you're doing $10,000 a month right off the bat. Is that the goal? Or is the goal to be like, how long do you want it to take to get to consistent $10,000 months?
Well, I know it's not going to happen overnight, obviously.
Right. And then also, let me ask again, is that revenue or is that profit?
So I guess.
Well,
I
let
guess.
me say this.
Okay.
I don't mean to put you on the spot there. My point is, think about this stuff. Because as you start thinking about your goals, as you start thinking about where you want to be, the stuff that you need to do to get there is going to start falling into place.
Right. Yeah, I've got a lot of goals, but like, and things in mind, but I don't really know how quickly it's going to happen, because like, obviously I want to, eventually grow it into like a 7-figure company. I want to make as much as I can, but
right. Yeah, so I want to make it into I want to make mine into a 7-figure company too. My goal for the first year was 600,000 in sales, and we fell short at 503. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, we only did $503,000 in sales, but we did it at like a 46% margin. So, I mean, I would rather have a $500,000 a year business at a 46% margin than $1 million a year business at an 18% margin.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a lot less to manage, and the profit was there. It was awesome. And you'll see as you get going how those things change. I used to sit here and think, and this is just from my experience. This is not me telling you what to do. Everything that I can tell you is obviously from my experience. So I used to think, man, I got to get this thing to $1 million, or I got to get this thing to $2 million. And then we got to like $60,000 months and $50,000 and $60,000 months. And I was like, man, we're not having to spend hardly any money on marketing. We just got like 2 or 3 guys working for us. They're awesome. They show up, they do the jobs well. They don't complain. I'm not having to spend a ton of time on the truck. We're hitting a 40% margin. You know, I can tell you, we'll talk about it here, but I track how many hours I work on the business. Today, I went out and did a job today because I had some time, but I'll only have 2 hours that I worked on American Junkers today, and we'll have probably $1,500 to $1,700 in revenue.
Well,
So my point is the goals change.
right.
I used to think grind, let's get as much revenue as we can, but now in reality, and this is another reason I created this whole spreadsheet, is like, man, what about just having a really healthy business that does $500,000?
Oh yeah,
You
I'd
know?
be happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You probably heard this saying before, but it's not the money you make, it's the money you keep.
Right.
So I'm going off on a tangent here, but think about those goals. So the way I would break it down is come up with what you want the business to look like in a year, and then start breaking those down into quarterly goals. Okay, if I
Okay.
want to be off the truck and not be hauling anything in a year, what does that look like at the end of the first quarter? Well, at the end of the first quarter, I probably need to be doing enough revenue to justify my first hire. So let's get to that. All right, what do I need to do that? What's my weekly task every week to do that? I need to be building relationships with clients. So that's really how this is designed. And I just kind of created this as a place to put it. So I'll let you handle that. But I want to get into it here and start talking about this. So the projections, the revenue, and the lead stats tabs, these are the most complicated tabs. These last four, pretty simple. With that being said, do not get intimidated by this sheet. It is user friendly, I promise, and it's going to do a lot of the stuff for you. And after I get done explaining, I'll tell you how I use it, and it makes it look like you're going to be spending a boatload of time in here. I spend less than 30 minutes a week in this sheet. So first thing you're tracking is we're going to do projections based on revenue. And then we're also going to be doing projections based on lead metrics, but we're going to go through revenue first. So let's say that we'll just use January here as a example. That's kind of our run through. So let's say, hey, my goal is, let me back up 1 second. Everything in yellow, that's a hard code. A hard code means Casey has to punch in that value. You want to do $40,000 in February? Great. You wanted to do $15,000 in February? You have to enter it there, and everything else is going to adjust based on that.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yep.
So let's just say your goal is 20,000 in January. We are going to enter that here. My goal for my business is a 40% margin. So I have a formula built in here. It's like, hey, okay, if my revenue is 20,000, my expenses need to be 60% of that to hit my 40% margin. That's going to throw out $8,000 in profit. And then the way that I break it down is I've got it kind of messed up here. I forgot to change these formulas because I was doing it with somebody else the other day. Right here. Yeah, I want the business to keep 25% and I want to take 75% of it. That's just kind of tracking some projections based on where I want to be. These formulas, everything is formulated. If you're like, hey, I want the business to keep 30%, me to take 70%, all you gotta do is change that to 0.3. It changes to 0.7 and then drag it over.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Excel at all?
Not too much. No.
That's okay. So as you're getting into this, if it gets complicated, call me.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can do, if you start messing with these things that aren't yellow, it can fail. And I'm pretty good at Excel, so I can help you out there.
Okay.
So basically, this is just showing your projections. All right, I'm projecting that I want to do, this is my budgeted revenue. I want to do $20,000 this month, and I only want to spend $12,000 to get there. Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me. All right. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go over to this revenue tab, the second tab here. What I did here is I created a calendar for every day throughout the year. So you can see, obviously, there's a week, they were nice to us this year. January 1st was on a Monday, so it looks good. So you can see we got every single week throughout the year here, and also every single day. Anywhere there is a blue square, that is the first of a new month. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the way this works. So let's just say, for the sake of round numbers or just for the sake of ease, let's say on January 1st you did $2,000 in revenue. What you're going to do is you're going to go in here on a daily basis, or however you want to, however much you want to. You're going to enter the amount of revenue based on jobs completed that you did that day.
Okay.
Okay. On Tuesday, you did a $650 job. On Wednesday, you did a $300 job and a $250 job. So what this is doing is it's total. You're entering your totals for the day. It's summing it for you for the week, and it's also totaling it for you for the month over here.
Okay.
And it's showing you, okay, my goal was 20,000. I'm $16,800 away from my goal. You can be like, all right, this is how many days I have to get there. Now, let's say it's the end of the month and you did $18,000 on the 31st. Congratulations, you had a heck of a day. You know, so you did $18,000 that day. Summing it for the month, summing it for the week, and then the next day, somebody called you, was like, "Hey, Casey, I got a $5,000 job. You're only gonna have to be here an hour, and it's just removing a bunch of pillows." Sweet, 5,000 sounds great. So you enter 5,000 there. You can see it's summing it for the day, summing it for the week, but now because that square is blue, it's pulling it over into February.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now all this, so what I do is, enter this on a daily basis. The way that I use this tab is we have a CRM that we track. So CRM is customer relation management. I think, yeah, customer relationship manager. And it's where we like send invoices and all that jazz. What I do is, instead of entering this on a daily basis, I open up the CRM every Tuesday morning and I enter it there. Like, all right, what was our revenue for last week? So on this Tuesday morning, I'm entering the revenue for last week. What did we do last week? And it takes 5 minutes or so, rather than just continuously updating it.
Right.
So anyway, so this amount here is actually going to pull back to this projections tab. Now I'm going to show you how the actuals work on the projections tab. Okay.
Okay.
You can see here we did $21,020 in revenue in January. That amount there is being pulled back to here. Okay. Now, I'm going to strongly encourage that you have a way of tracking all of your expenses, and I'm going to strongly encourage that you do that through QuickBooks.
Okay.
Because if you start using QuickBooks, if you start using QuickBooks in the beginning, one, you're going to learn how to use it. It's going to save you some money down the road. And two, it's going to save you some money because you're going to be organized. And being organized is huge. Like I said earlier, it's so easy for the little things to become big things. So I could make the spreadsheet to where you could track all of your expenses and make it super complicated, but that's not what this is. This is to analyze the health of your business. So at the end of the month, let's just say you were really good about putting all of your expenses in there. You're going to go in, you're going to go to QuickBooks, and you say, give me a report of all my expenses from January. They're going to throw out the number. Because this cell here is yellow, you're going to enter that number. Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's say it was 11,500. This sheet is now going to calculate, okay, what was my profit margin? 46%. Congratulations, you're absolutely crushing it. By the way, this is extremely doable. Extremely doable, especially if you don't have any employees. It's calculating your profit, which is just a simple, difference between revenue and expenses. It's calculating, okay, how much should the business take? How much should Casey take? And then it's also down here going to calculate your difference. What you want to see is you want both of these numbers to be positive. So this is, okay, we did $1,200 more than what we budgeted. Awesome. And not only did we do $1,200 more, we spent $500,000 or $500,000. We spent $500 less than what we budgeted. So that's good. That's a healthy business. If you were like, okay, yeah, we did 21,000 in revenue, but it cost us $18,000 to get there, it's like, man, why didn't you just go out and do $3,000 in revenue with not spend any money? You know what I mean? So that's the point where you're like, okay, how healthy is my business? That's what this is showing you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right, cool. Now we're going to move down here. We're going to talk about lead metrics real quick. This is super important. So again, the yellow tab here, do you have a goal for what you want your average job price to be, average ticket price? If not, no big.
Yeah, I hadn't honestly thought about that.
Let's say $500 for the sake of round numbers.
Okay.
So what this is going to tell you is like, okay, Casey's goal is to go out there, and what you want to do is every time you talk to somebody, you want to figure out how to get them to pay you $500 or more. So you go out, you talk to somebody, or I'm sorry, I'm thinking about it from. You've got a projected revenue of $20,000. You want to do that with an average ticket price of $500. That is telling you that you need to go land 40 jobs. Now, I hope you go land one job for $20,000. That would be awesome, and they
that'd
are
be great.
they are out there. You know, that would be the dream. You go out there, you spend 2 weeks doing one $20,000 job. You just find 12 of those a year, and you're going to be cooking.
Right.
I hope that happens for you. But we're saying like, okay, if I expect an average ticket price of $500, I got to go out and figure out how I'm going to do 40 jobs. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go back to this revenue tab. So you can see. You see this number where you see January and then the 0? You see that?
Oh, yeah, sorry. The
Yeah, right here.
the video is blocking it. There we go. Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so what I want you to do here, and I tried figuring out a formula for this, but I think the easiest way is to just tally. What I want you to do is be like, okay, we did a $2,000 job that day. I did a $650 job that day. I did 2 jobs that day. And let's just say that was your total job for the week. Just start tallying how many jobs you did over there. We did 4 jobs that week. We did 6 jobs completed this week. We did 10 jobs completed this week. We did 20 jobs completed this week. And then sum those up. I didn't want that to be 40. Sum those up to, okay. So what you're doing here is you're going to enter, here is the number of jobs, actual jobs that we completed throughout the month. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I did $550 a day, but it was between 2 jobs. I did $600, it was 1 job. So you're just basically tallying those up, and at the end of the month, you're going to put the number from this all the way to here. So all those days, you're going to put that there.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So once you put that 38 in there, whatever that number is, you're going to go back over to the projections tab. And now this is going to calculate for you your average ticket price and the difference you had in your average ticket price. You're like, hey, I did $21,500 or $200. That's more revenue than I thought, and it's less jobs than I needed to do. I got an average ticket price of nearly $560. Things are good. You might say, hey, I did $40,000 in revenue, but I did it between 1,000 jobs. I got an average ticket price of $4. I got to figure out what's going on here. Or $40, I mean. I got to figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
So that's just, again, tracking the health of your business there. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Beautiful. So far, do you think this spreadsheet is something that you can use that'll help you stay organized?
Yeah. It seems relatively easy to do. It looked complicated, but
yeah, it's not. Don't be intimidated by it. It's not extremely complicated. All right, now we're kind of off of the projections and revenue tab. This is where I want you to start tracking leads. Okay. So the way that this is built out, again, we're thinking business health here. This is the reason that we have this sheet to track 2 things. 1, the number of leads you're getting and from what source they're coming from. And 2, your conversion rate. Do you know what your conversion rate is?
mm-mm.
So conversion rate is I get a lead, I go out, I do the bid, and they say yes.
Okay.
So it's basically how many jobs you land based on the number of leads that you get.
Okay.
So let's just say, and so that I don't have to fill out the whole mark. Let's say you get 12 SEO leads. Let me back up a little bit. Do you know what an SEO lead is?
I don't remember. I just looked at
That's
this
okay.
earlier. But
So yeah, so let me back up here. And if I'm going too fast for you, be like, Jack, slow down, dude. You
okay,
know, don't be afraid. I mean, we're here for you. So I don't want to just be talking over your head. So if you're like, I don't know what that is, stop me. I want to help.
okay,
Sound good? Okay. So an
yep,
SEO lead is your website.
okay,
This is somebody went on the internet and said, I need junk removal in Jacksonville, Illinois. And your website popped up and they filled out a form or they gave you a call or whatever, and you said, hey, how'd you hear about us? They're like, I want your website. You go, cool. One lead. One lead from the website. Okay. PPC is it stands for pay per click. So it's basically Google ads. So what you do is you pay to have your website at the top of Google.
okay.
Organic leads are going to be social media. Um, what else? It's really pretty much social media. Yeah, it's really social media. It's like posting on your, I don't know, I've got some brain fog right now. There are other
That's
organic lead sources, but I don't know. They're out there somewhere. Um, yeah, posting on your Facebook page, posting on your business Facebook page, and somebody reaches out to you. That's organic. Um, SOI stands for sphere of influence, which is just a really fancy way to say people that you know. Hey, I
okay.
heard Casey's in junk removal. I got some stuff in my house. Can you come remove it? That would be SOI. And then referral is obviously pretty self-explanatory. Anybody that refers your business.
Okay.
And then the last one is outbound. And outbound is what's going to be super crucial to you. It's going to be super crucial to you as you get going. So right now, very few people know that Casey does junk removal. It's your obligation to tell them, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. Those are outbound leads. You call every contractor you know. You talk to every single real estate investor. You call all of the storage facilities in Jacksonville and go, hey, I'm Casey with 123 Junk Removal. This is what I do. Those are outbound leads. And as those, you spend time and effort to go and tell people who you are and what you do. As those people start calling you back, that would go into the outbound category. Make sense?
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So let's just say, for example, you have got 10 SEO leads, you got 15 Google ads, you got 12 organics, you got 3 people you know, you got 2 referrals, you got 1 outbound lead on this day. So what it's saying is, okay, this is all the lead channels that I have, and then this is the total amount of leads that I got that day. Now it's going to be pulling you. So here's your total leads for the day. As you can see, I got every single day throughout the year here. Now it's going to be pulling the total number of leads for the month up here. So let's just say you had another 12 leads here and 15 leads here. You can see, okay, 27 leads for the day, but we're at 70 leads for the month. Following?
Yep.
Okay. So let's just say, all right, we get these 43 leads on the first, and you're talking with these people over the course of a week or 10 days or whatever, and you end up landing 30 of them. 13 people told you to go eat rocks. The other 30 people said, yeah, come on out and haul this stuff away from me. What you want to do is you want to enter that number here. Now, let's say you landed one of those jobs on, one of these 10 SEO leads, you landed on the 13th. If you want to record that as a job closed on the 13th, by all means, feel free to do that. That's up to you. Where this gets tricky, and the one thing you need to pay attention is if you get a lead on the 31st of January or the 30th or the 29th, and you don't convert that till February, you need to make sure that you put that job landed in the same month that the lead was received.
Okay.
If you put it in the next month, it's going to mess with your conversion rate.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like if I put 12 jobs landed here, but I haven't received any leads, the spreadsheet's like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So that's just the only thing here is just be careful of watching that as it crosses months. But this sheet is important to be like, okay, again, one, where are my marketing dollars being spent and what's being effective? You might be like, Jack, I'm sending 200 emails a day. to potential business, and I've only got one outbound lead so far. Then you and I are going to talk about and be like, okay, 200 emails a day probably should be yielding more. What's the verbiage you're using? And you're like, some a word is spelled wrong, or whatever. Or it's like, okay, maybe email isn't the best strategy. Maybe it's going to be more valuable for you to make 5 outbound phone calls a day rather than 200 emails. So we'll adjust that there. Hey Jack, I'm spending $2,500 a month to have someone manage my SEO, and I've only gotten 10 leads over the last 6 months. That's a waste of money. Let's figure out something else.
Right.
So that's why it's important to track this stuff. Does that all make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Excuse me. Allergies. Cannot wait for this rain to come through. Dude, it's killing me. Okay. So, and then the last thing over on this sheet that I have is just some outbound goals. So we kind of talked about at the beginning of the call about, some lead metrics and like some lead goals. As you're getting going, it's going to be important for you to say, okay, I'm getting up and going to business. Nobody knows who I am. I need to tell people who I am. The biggest mistake you can make right now is start using a website, start using Google Ads, and be paying for those services and waiting for leads to come in. That is a great way for you to fail. A really good way for you to waste money. What is going to be the best thing for you is to tell everybody in your phone book, hey, I'm Casey. Hey guys, what's up? It's Casey. This is what I'm doing. I guarantee you'll get leads from it. Make sure that you get on your Facebook page, and build a business Facebook page, and start posting content on a daily basis. That is the only lead source. That is the only marketing tactic that I use. It's just social media. We don't do any SEO. We don't do any Google ads. I do all of this, but I don't do any of that. So many people think, hey, yeah, I have a business now. Let's just build a website and people will come to it and give me a bunch of leads. That's not how it works. If the people that are going to your website, they're going to go to it. They're going to look for price only. The people that are just interested in price are not your best customers. They want it done yesterday and they want it done cheap.
Right.
We can dig into that more. But my point is, you want to be focused on, okay, how do I do as much of this as I possibly can? So let's just say you maybe have your volume goal for the day is 10. Maybe that's broken down to, I want to send 5 text messages to people I know. I want to do 2 posts on social media, and I want to do 3 calls to contractors in the area. Tell them who I am. All right, cool. I did those. Track it there. All right, the next day I want to do the same. Oh, I only did 8. And it's going to show you, okay, this is where negative. I only did 8 yesterday. I'm going to make up for it today. Do 12. I need you tracking this, because as we go back and do these next 5 calls, and you're like, Jack, I'm not getting any leads. I'm not making any money. I'm like, Casey, what's your value? What's your value goal? How's your volume going? And you'd be like, oh, well, I only made 1 call that day, and I only talked to 2 people that day and 3 people that day. It's like, do you want this thing to be $1 million company? You've got to absolutely crush this.
Right.
Absolutely crush it. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So track it there, and then you and I can adjust and make it make sense.
Okay.
All right. We're done with the 3 complicated tabs. The last 4 are pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The expenses tab, this is just a place for you to track your fixed costs. Your fixed costs are your costs that never change. Well, most likely never change. So your insurance, you probably, hopefully buy a truck soon. You're going to have insurance on the truck. At American Junkers, we actually have 5 vehicles. We've got 3 dump trucks, and then me and my business partner both have our personal vehicles in the business. That was for tax reasons. We've got an office, so we pay rent. We pay rent every month. So basically, what I would do for you is I would just delete these and then write in whatever it is. Insurance, put in whatever it is. For vehicles, put in whatever you need. But go through and audit your fixed costs, and this is going to be a good place to track them. And then this spreadsheet is broken down to where, okay, I'm spending $5,500 a year on workers' comp. It's going to break down how much I'm spending per month. And then it's also going to sum your monthly expense. So at the beginning of every month, I'm spending $3,200 whether I do a job or not. You also
Right.
know, based on a 30-day month, it's Sunday morning and you're going to church. Hey, I'm still spending $108 today. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So it's just good to be aware of those numbers. I thought, when I first started, I wasn't doing a lot of this stuff. And I was like, man, my business is super healthy. I'm doing great. And then I started tracking our fixed costs, and I was like, we don't make any money until after we were spending $580 a day just in fixed costs. And I was like, oh man, and then we got to pay dump fees, and then we got to pay labor. So it was like we got to basically do $1,000 just to break even. Fortunately, most days we were doing well over $1,000, so it made sense. But it's good to know that number. It's also good to know that number is you go out to bid a job, and you only got one job that day, and hey, it's $107.50 for me to break even on the day. You want to bid that job for $75? Try pushing the envelope. Bid it for $125. Bid it for $150. You now know what your business needs to survive. Sound good?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so that's fixed costs. Once you get employees, this will be more important. Probably not as big of a deal right now, but again, super simple. You got every day throughout the whole year here. You're going to basically just enter their name, how much they make per hour, and then you're going to enter how many hours they worked per day in here. It's going to sum their total hours for the week, and it's also going to sum their total wages for the week. Notice it's just wages, and it's most likely your employees will be W-2 employees. Once you get to that point, we can talk about it a little bit more in depth. If you 1099 your employees, it's an insurance issue. So we can talk about that as we get there. Again, that $620 is for your business health. Okay, I spent $620 this week in labor. How much revenue did I do? Okay, I only did $1,000 in revenue. How come it cost me so much money to do such little revenue? Oh, the truck broke down on Monday, and they spent 3 hours on the side of the road waiting for the tow truck. On Wednesday, we were supposed to we just underbid that deck demo, and we thought we'd get it done in a few hours, and it took longer, and it wasn't enough. So again, business health. Sound good?
Yeah.
Cool. KPIs. Again, KPI is key performance indicator. So what I did here, again, broke out every single day throughout the year, and I broke down the 5 biggest things that you should be tracking as far as KPIs. Number 1 is going to be your dump fees. Dump fees are the lifeblood of this business. If you're going to the dump that is costing you a bunch of money, you could be crushed. I can tell you in St. Louis, we have 3 dumps, 3 main ones that we go to. The one we go to is way out of our way, and it's $100 a ton. There's another one at $212 a ton, and there's another one at $297 a ton. Jeez. Both of those expensive ones are closer, but I can't run a business at $300 a ton.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. So, but you want to be tracking that expense to know where you're at. Another reason we track dump fees, and this is something that happened to me last September and October. I started to notice our dump fees were going down. We were typically in like the 140 to 160 range for a full truck. And after every time my guys would go to the dump, they'd either send us a picture of the receipt or they would text us the amount of how much the dump was. And we'd look at it, and then I started to notice, okay, it was like 120, and then it was 95, then it was 85, then it was 105, and I was like, cool. We're hauling the same amount of stuff, we're charging the same amount of money, but it's just lighter. This is like kind of like a stroke of luck. And then I started to realize that the labor hours were going up. And then I started to realize it was taking longer to get jobs done. And it's all because I was paying attention to that dump fee number. And I asked, why is our average dump price lower? It's never changed in the prior 8 months of business. Why is it changing now? What happened was I had a foreman who was working for me, a team leader, and he refused to fill up the truck all the way. He was filling it up 80% instead of 100%. And talking about it, ended up having to let him go because of it. But because I was tracking those KPIs, I was able to get rid of a bad apple faster. And I didn't have to go out to the field and check up on them.
Right.
I figured out that problem through a spreadsheet. So make sure you're tracking that number. track gas, track repairs, track miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is anything. You know, your puller pop at the gas station, you know, oil change, all that to be under repairs. But you know, toe straps, you know, whatever it can be. I honestly, personally, for American Junkers, we only track dump fees and scrap. We track the rest of this just through QuickBooks. It's not as important to me. But the other guys in the group, they're like, hey, we want more stuff on there, so I added these three. Feel free to track. Feel free to make those whatever you want. As you enter these throughout the day, the week, whatever, it's going to sum your totals over here. So here's my total dump fees for the day. For the week, and then it's also going to sum it down here for the year. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. All right, the last thing on here, and this is something that I didn't start doing until this year, and I wish I would have been tracking it all along. We talked earlier in the snapshot about goals for the next 12 months. One of my goals for my junk removal and demo business is I don't want to do any field work. I want to be focused on growing the business and building the business up. And if I'm out in the field, I'm not doing that. So I now track, hey, how many hours am I working in the office and how many hours am I out in the field laboring with the guys? And you could quantify this differently as how many hours I'm working in the business and how many hours I'm working on the business. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So we started tracking that. We track it on a daily basis. Again, I have an assistant that enters all this information for me daily. And once you get up and going, I can talk with you about filling that position. It's actually very, very inexpensive. And I can talk with you about, we're going to go through bulletproofing your back office. But sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so I enter this on a daily basis, and then it's going to sum my total for the week. I'm going to know how many hours I work. Like, so if I looked at this, I'm like, all right, my goal is not to work any field hours. Why do I have 8 hours in the field here? I can go back and say, okay, on Monday, man, what did I do on Monday where I worked? Number one, I worked 10 hours. Number two, I spent 6 hours in the field. Oh, yeah, we were supposed to get that job done and a pipe burst, and I had to go out in the field and help them finish it up. I need to make sure I train my guys on where to be poking stuff through walls so they don't hit any plumbing. You know, that kind of stuff. Again, we're all going back to one common thing, and I'm going to ask you what it is because you probably heard me say it 20 times by now. You remember?
I'm sorry.
This is all leading back to focusing on this whole spreadsheet. One thing.
Okay, I thought I knew, but I don't.
No, business health.
Oh yeah, business health. Sorry.
Yeah, the healthier business. It's all about the healthier business.
Yeah.
So that is the full rundown of the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Thoughts, comments, concern, questions? Now would be the time to ask.
It's a lot simpler than I thought.
Good. Again, so I'm gonna email this to you when we get off the call here. I just want to get all this stuff out of here so that the blank slate for you. All right, cool. I think that's everything. I don't want you being like, what? Where'd all this dump piece come from? All right, cool. All right, beautiful. So, yeah, so it's a lot of information. It may be intimidating to some people. It doesn't sound like you're super intimidating, which is good. But what I will say is, again, I told you at the beginning of this call when we first started talking about it, is I only spend about half an hour a week in the spreadsheet. And honestly, I spend even less time now because I have an admin handle the spreadsheet for me. We've got the best way to go about this is to track your information in something that's easy, that's something that's right on the spot. The way that me and my business partner did it is we're texting back and forth between each other. In fact, he's calling me right now. We're texting back and forth between each other all the time. So all the information that we're texting about jobs or whatever was getting lost in translation. Or lost, getting buried in our text messages. So what we started a GroupMe page or a GroupMe account, and we have a dedicated GroupMe text message thread that's only for American Junkers. Here's the revenue. Here's the dump fees. Here's how much we spent on gas. And then I will go through on a weekly basis and I'd look at the dates and I just plug and play the information in there. like I said, 30 minutes to a half an hour. I looked at that text message. The only thing in the text message was the information that went in the spreadsheet. And it was a good way for us to be able to track it while we were on the job without having to open this thing up and not waste a bunch of time in this bad boy. So I would recommend something along the lines with that, whether it's, you know, text message between you and your wife on GroupMe, or just yourself on GroupMe, or tracking it through notes or whatever. But if you don't come up with a good system to do it now, number one, you probably won't do it, or number two, it's going to get real messy.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Let me turn on my light real quick. The storm must be about to hit. It's getting real dark.
Yeah, I've heard a couple little thunderclaps here.
Yeah. And I gotta, give me 1 second. Let's see here. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure I got guys out in the field. I want to make sure everybody's all right here. So that's the spreadsheet. I will email it to you. But now I want to go through the next two things, which is bidding and the high lifetime value clients. How you feeling so far?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Excited? Happy?
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Good. Good. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. All right, let's go through high lifetime value clients real quick. This, and I've got this in a PDF again. I'll email it to you. This is how I built my business. This whole thing is, you know, like I told you, I was going through my CRM and just checking, okay, how much revenue have we made off this person? How much, you know, or how many jobs is this person giving us? You know, yada, yada, yada. And it's all because I followed this structure. So I'm going to run through it with you real quick now. Feel free to ask questions, because this right here is going to be how you get to that $20,000 a month.
Okay.
And it's going to be how you keep that keep as much of that $20,000 a month as you can. And I mean, I think the first month that we were in business, we did, it was either 21 or 20,100 or 19,300 or something like that. But it was all through relationships, all through SOI. And I think we had like maybe $5,000 in dump fees. You know, netted like $15,000 in our first month. It was insane.
Dang.
You know, and it's very doable. It's just, you have to follow this protocol.
Okay.
And then before I say anything else here, I'm not discounting anything that's said in the course. There's a bunch of really good ideas in the course when it comes to lead gen, and a lot of different ways that you could go that are also free. Some better than others, I will say. This is what works for me really well. You know, this is what I know, and this is what I, you know, honestly, this is what I know really well. So you know, imagine, you know, trying to generate leads. Like, casting as big of a net as you possibly can is a really good thing, right? And you want to do that because you want to get as many leads as you can. Your job is to collect people's information and try to convert them as many times as you can.
Okay.
But the bigger the net, the more cost it costs. You know, it might be good to like cast that massive net. You're going to probably be crossing over with other people's nets, and you can create competition. Or you cast a really small net on a concentrated group of people. That's what I did. You know, like we just went over $250,000 from 5 clients.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm not saying, I think especially at the beginning, you should do it all. We've got another guy, Adam Taylor, in here. He's been having a ton of luck with bandit signs. I've never used bandit signs. You know what a bandit sign is?
Yeah, they're like yard signs, right?
Exactly. So like if you're driving on the highway and you get off at the exit and it says junk removal and a phone
Mhm.
number, it says cash for your house, you know, and a phone number.
Right.
That's a bandit sign. He's been having great luck with them. I've never used them. I never needed them, or, you know, never went down that road. Not to say that they're good or bad, but they're working well for him. But let me run through who these high lifetime value clients are. So the first thing is, what is, or really who is a lifetime value client? And before we get into this, before I really just kind of read through this, the number one thing I want you to think of is business to business sales. the big boys that are out there, the 1-800 got junks, the junk kings, the junk luggers. And I don't know if any of those guys are in Jacksonville. I don't know if the market's big enough, but they're definitely in St. Louis, but they are focused on business to consumer sales, B2C. They want to go out and they want to get as many homeowners as they possibly can for their services. And they spend a massive amount of money on marketing to do it. We don't want that. You're never going to have a $250,000 a month Google ad budget to go out and land 1,000 jobs.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. At least not right now. Maybe you become a massive nationwide franchise, and if that's what you want, I hope it happens. But right now, let's focus on business to business sales. Excuse me. The reason being, businesses are going to be repeat customers. It takes the same amount of time to have a conversation with a person who's going to give you one job as it does the time to have a conversation with somebody who's going to give you 10 jobs. So let's have the conversation with somebody who's going to give you 10 jobs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. So who are they? Someone who's going to give you multiple jobs. I often refer to them as whales. And then they have the ability to change the course of your business. Again, I gave you the example of the 5 clients that did us $250,000. The pros of these people, it's going to be consistent work. Business to business sales. When you're dealing with business to business, you are dealing with a decision maker, which is super important. Be wary, not wary, because you want to go out and you want to be able to get as many jobs as you possibly can. But be wary of people that seem like they're business to business, but they're actually business to consumer. Perfect example of this is real estate agents. Like, oh, real estate agents, they sell houses and they're going to have a ton of jobs, and this would make perfect sense. But when you talk to a real estate agent, you're like, hey, here's my services. This is what I need. Now they have to like you enough to go sell your services to their client. You want to be talking with the decision maker. I'm not saying don't talk to real estate agents, because they do have jobs. There's probably some great ones out there that are going to give you leads. But if you want to take a really focused effort on marketing, then you want to be talking with people that are going to be making the decision.
Right.
Sound good?
Yep.
Yeah. The other pros of this is high lifetime value clients know other high lifetime value clients. They tend to swim in the same pond. So once you land one, hey, who else does what you do? Is there anybody else that you can refer me to? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the cons are you may have a lower average ticket price with them. With quantity, sometimes you lose a little bit of money. We have for our retail customers, we're like $60 a yard. For our high lifetime value clients, we're like $50 to $55 a yard. But they keep us busy. And then the other con is if you do lose their business, you're going to have to replace a lot of revenue. Imagine if I lost that customer that gave me $120,000 over the last 15 months. That's a big hole in the business to replace. So you never want to stop trying to go after these people. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Here's the top 3 that we focus on. And all of 5 of those people fall into this category. In fact, some of them fall into the category a couple different times. Real estate investors. These are going to be people that flip houses, buy commercial property, fix it up, rent out spaces to tenants, own rental properties, whatever it is. Contractors. Contractors are a huge source of our business, especially on the demolition side. And then property managers. Property managers are B to B to C because they're representing an owner. Some of them have the authority on the owner's behalf to be like, yeah, just go get it done. Others have to go get approval. So, with that being said, still a great lead channel. So think about, a good way to maybe find a property manager in Jacksonville. Go on Zillow and look up houses for rent. Call the listing agent, call the whoever. Be like, hey, so you got this house to rent. I just wanted to introduce myself. This is what I do. Really looking to build a relationship with real estate investors. And actually, we're going to go over this here in a second. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Focus your efforts, and here's the key points. Focus your efforts on business to business sales. Deal with the decision maker. Spend your majority of time chasing these clients, and do not depend on one of them. Shoot for 8 to 10 of them. The main benefit with these guys is you're going to have an increase in revenue and consistency because you're going to be getting more jobs, and you're going to be getting those jobs consistently. They know more clients like them. It's going to lead to a lower client acquisition cost because you're spending less money to acquire new leads. And less money or less expense, obviously it's going to lead to more profit.
Right.
Clear as mud?
Yep. Yep.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Cool. All right, so how do you find them? How do you attract them? Here's the top 3 places. Look, I would start going online today, and I'd be looking for real estate investor meetups in your area. They probably happen once a month. They're going to be on like a Tuesday or Thursday night at 7 o'clock at a bar or a venue or a hotel or wherever. And all the investors are going to meet up and they're going to talk about investing. Go there. This is the number one thing I would say about real estate investors. And I know this because I am one. This is how I got into this business. Real estate people love talking about real estate. Absolutely love talking about it. So don't go there and talk to these people about, hey, I'm Casey and this is what I do. Go there and say, hey, how long have you been investing in real estate? Take an actual interest in them. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking about buying my first property. Whether you're thinking about it or not, they're going, oh man, I remember my first property. Still own that dog over there on, the West Bank of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Start taking interest in them and ask them about what they know. Because they're going to, 1, they're going to talk more. 2, they're not going to feel like you're selling them something. And 3, they're going to eventually ask you what you do. And when they ask you what you did, you've already built rapport with them. Oh yeah, I do junk removal, I do demolition. But I see these properties all the time and see these properties all the time. And I'm like, man, I'm doing these jobs for those guys. And man, I wish I could just be doing them for myself, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah, the biggest thing with how to attract real estate investors is be relatable to them. Relevant Facebook groups are just going to be absolutely huge for your business. People, I don't know if you've been in Facebook groups and seen somebody post like a Facebook group in your area and say, how much does it cost to get rid of this? Or how much, send me your bid to get rid of X. What you're going to see is you're going to see 50 people comment within the first 30 minutes. And they're going to do it for a third of your price. And you're going to be like, how are these people doing this stuff? Because we talked about this when the first time we talked, it's like there's that middle 80% of the business that all you need is a truck with a bed or a trailer and you're a junk removal company. Those are all those guys that are replying to that on Facebook. I can guarantee you, if you're posting something on Facebook, hey, I got this job, how much to get it done? You only are concerned about one thing, and that's price. If you're posting it there, you're saying, how do I get this done as cheap as possible? Casey, those are not your customers. And I do not want you to get encouraged by going on Facebook and saying, hey, I thought that I was like the only legitimate junk removal and demo company in Jacksonville. Who are all these guys that are doing landscaping and mulching and roofing and all this stuff that they're saying they can haul junk away? Don't be discouraged by it. I go in these groups and I see these messages every single day. There's 50 comments below them, and they're all cheaper than my price. The point is, when you're in those Facebook groups, you want to do 2 things. You want to display your work. This is who I am. This is what I do. And then you want to be an active member of the group. Now, what does that mean? Comment on other people's posts. Ask credible questions. Hey, I just started this business. Who are you guys using for insurance? Looking for an insurance broker. Another comment you can do on somebody else's post. Man, it looks like you guys were out there doing a great job. Your landscaping looks awesome. Just be nice to them, and that's it. Don't push your services at all. The people in those groups that are going to be your customers are going to be the people that reach out to you because they care about quality over price. The people that are posting in those groups, they don't care about quality. All they care about is the lowest dollar. I've seen so many people get discouraged because they get in those groups and they see 50 comments and they're like, how am I ever going to compete with this? Those are not your customers and they will never be your customers. Make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Cool. All right. And the last place you're going to see is find these people's networking events. This is where you kind of want to, you still want to talk, be relatable to them, but you're going to have a wider range of business owners and, different types of people. That's when you want to start telling people what you do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, still be relatable, but that's where you're going to start telling people, who I am, who you are, and what you do. And a good example of that would be like a BNI group. BNI is Business Networking International or something like that. But I'd be looking for these networking events. It probably doesn't cost any money to go to them. And that's where you're going to absolutely smoke all these clients. There's so many of them there.
Oh.
All right. Then the last thing is convert and keep them. The number one rule of conversion is focus on the relationship. This is kind of digging in a little bit deeper, talking about the same thing that I talked about with the Facebook group. You want to be focused on the relationship rather than the money off of one job. I use this line all the time. The relationship is more important to me than getting rich off of one job. I say that almost every day to clients. New inbound leads, new outbound leads, whatever. And that's what keeps them coming back for more. So to keep them, superior customer service. Again, we're focused on the people that care about quality over price. You want to have a really good communication. Have a high quality work with their needs in mind. So cater to them. If you have a customer that's giving you $100,000 in work, and they say, "Hey, Casey, we're in a bind. We need you to go paint something for us." Go paint it. You don't want to be like, "Oh, sorry, I just do demolition. I just do junk removal." You're working for that customer at that point. Now, I'm not saying go out of your, don't go do something that you can't do.
Right.
But you help them out. And then the last thing is, and this is another reason why I started my business, do the job to completion. There are so many people that cannot do a job to completion. It's actually kind of sad.
Yeah.
But do the job 100% of the way. Again, I'll send you this here. Does that all make sense? Do you have any questions there?
No, it's all pretty straightforward, I think.
Beautiful. Cool. All right, let's go over bidding, and then we're going to be wrapping this up. I actually have another call here at 4:30. So, all right. Again, we kind of talked about at the beginning. The biggest thing where people see people fail is they go out, they do a bid, they give the price, and they wait for the phone to ring. You will land some, but you will not land many bids that way, and you will leave money on the table if you do that. So here's the really 5 steps that I use with every single bid. So the first thing, the goals with bidding is you want to be able to land more jobs, you want to increase your average ticket price, and you want to retain the clients so you can get as much revenue out of them as you possibly can. You want to build that relationship. When you think bidding, if you get out there and you forget every single one of these steps, the number one thing you want to be thinking about is all I need to do is establish credibility with them. That's it. Throughout this entire process, you're going to see every single one of these steps goes back to building credibility. So it's kind of like a similar thing we talked about with the KPIs tracking spreadsheet. Everything on that sheet goes back to business health. Well, everything when it goes back to bidding is going back to legitimizing and building credibility for Casey as a service and as a business owner. That's what I want you thinking throughout the bidding process. So the first thing you do is you want to get a really clear scope. Ask them a ton of questions. Now, it might be junk removal on the side of the road, and all you have to do is pull your truck up there and throw it in the bed, and it's extremely obvious. Still ask them questions about, or maybe even go in detail about some of the stuff. Oh, I noticed an old rocking horse in there. You guys have that in the family for a long time? Being relatable, building credibility. Now you're getting them talking. You have anything else in your house that you need removed? Man, I really appreciate you bringing this out to the street, but next time you can just leave it in the house. All you got to do is point. We can come get it for you. Make sense?
Yeah.
Or if it's a more complicated bid, then you could say, Is there, is this all that you need? Is it in the back corner of the basement? Um, just start asking questions and I'm losing my train of thought, but start asking questions, just get a really clear scope with them. Do you know what the scope is?
Then explain it to me.
That's cool. Yeah, so scope is, uh, think of it this way. It is the entirety of the job.
Okay.
So like, if you're like, let's say you got a job to tear down a swing set in the back. The scope would be, uh, tear down swing set, remove lumber, make sure we pull the footings out of the ground, remove the slide, rake up afterwards, take after picture. It's almost like the order of operations for the job. It's basically everything that needs to be completed is the scope.
Okay.
That's why you want to get clear and ask questions. There might be like, they might say, hey, we really want you to throw this one thing away. And what you didn't realize is that there's stuff in the drawers that they wanted to keep. Hey, we opened these drawers for you. Are you sure you want to throw this away? This looks like a family heirloom. Oh yeah, thanks, Casey. We'll give you an extra $1,000 because you kept that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So make sure you're asking questions. And then again, make sure that you're reiterating the scope back to them at the end. Okay, this is what I heard you say. This is what you want done. If you do that, it's going to tell them, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. He was listening to what I say. And it's going to build credibility. And 3, a lot of times they'll add more stuff onto it. Just that one simple sales technique of, hey, this is what I heard you say. Is this everything that you need done? You'll be like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. Hey, you know what? I got a hutch down to the basement. You mind removing that as well? Cha-ching. So just reiterate it back. The second thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to discuss the approach with them. The approach is how you're actually going to do the job. So let's just say you have a couch in the back corner of a basement. You're going to be like, okay, we got this couch. Get out your tape measure, measure the couch. You got to take it through a few doorways, walk the route with them. Hey, this is how we're going to remove it through the house. We notice we got a few doorways here. Measure the doorway. Shouldn't have any issue with this fitting. Oh, it doesn't look like this is going to fit. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, is it okay if we chop it up in your basement and carry it out in pieces? Discuss the approach again. Again, building credibility. It shows you that you know what you're doing. Make sense?
Yeah.
While you're discussing approach, use a social proof. A social proof is an example, a real life example that shows that you know what you're doing. So we'll go back to the couch example. Last week we removed a couch from somebody's basement and it didn't quite fit through the doorway. So I want to make sure I measure the doorways real quick. Also, last week they were really particular about making sure we didn't scratch the walls. So we brought a moving blanket with us today so that we'll make sure that nothing gets scratched up. It's just little something like that to show them that you know what you're doing and continue to build that credibility. Now that you've gone through and you built all that credibility, you've got a clear scope, you talked about your approach, you use the social proof. Now it's time to start discuss pricing. The first thing that I want you to do when it comes to pricing is try to get them to say the number first. This is going to be the number one way for you to make more money. You want to increase your revenue by 10%, 20%, 25%, get them to say their number first. 2 things happen if you can get them to say their number. We can dive in at a later date on how, some techniques on how to actually get them to do this. But 2 things are going to happen. Let's say that you were going to bid the job at $500. And they say, hey, you know what? I'm confident we can get this done for you, but building a relationship with you guys, I know, people, and we obviously are trying to build our business. So we want to do right by you. Where do you think you need to be for this to make sense? This obviously has to work for us as a business. We got to be able to make money, but we value the relationship. Where do you need to be? And in your mind, you're like, I want to get this job for $500, and they say $100. Now you know 2 things. One, if you would have told them your price, all they would have heard is $500, and they would have said, we're not hiring this guy. Doesn't matter what he says the rest of this time. Doesn't matter if he gives us the winning lottery numbers. I don't care. All I heard is $500. We're never going to hire him. So you're gone. You're out of their mind. At that point, all the effort, everything that you did is gone because you guys couldn't come to a price. So that's the first thing, if they're too low. The second thing, if they're too low, now you know that you have a job to do to explain to them why $100 doesn't work and why it has to be more. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Homer, you may not realize this, but it may only take us 20 minutes to remove this couch, but I still have to pay my guys to drive it to the dump. I still have to pay, I have insurance. I still have to go buy gas. I got to pay dump fees. You know, or whatever. You can start explaining, you can start justifying why it's a higher price. And maybe you don't say $500. Maybe you say, okay, $350. You meet them in the middle of it, or whatever it may be. So you can now, one, you didn't ruin it because you said too high of a price, and two, you can now know that you have to work to justify that price. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. The flip side of that is, this has happened to me a few times. You were going to say $500 and they said 1,000. Awesome. Just by working to get the price out of them first, you just made $500 straight to your bottom line.
Right.
You can also flip that coin a little bit and build some rapport with them. Hey, you know what? I really appreciate you, or not appreciate you. You say something along the lines of like, you know what? I think $1,000 would make sense, but we really value the relationship with you. I think we can get it done for 900. You build rapport with them, and you made $400 more.
Right.
I've got an example of this where I called, and this is where I kind of realized that this process works. I called this customer. We were going to bid this job. My business partner wanted to bid it for $3,000, and I had seen the pictures, and I was like, this is maybe 2,000, maybe." And I called the person up, and I was like, "We're kind of coming up with a high bid here. Where do you need to be on this thing?" You know, it was the whole conversation about value in the relationship. And she goes, for it to make sense for us, we need to be between $4,000 and $5,000. And I was like, so you know what I said? I said, you know what? We can get it done for $4,500. Does that make sense? In her mind, she saved $500. In my mind, I made $2,500.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you work to get the price out of them first. Also, this call is recorded. I know this is a ton of information. So I will send you the call recording so you'll have it. Yeah. So don't worry about notes or whatever. I mean, we've been talking for almost an hour and a half now. We probably got about 15 minutes left. It's a ton of information. And for me, like, as doing this for 15 months and now teaching it to several people, like this is obvious stuff. For you, you're like, what does all this stuff mean? What are all these acronyms? So that's not lost on me, which is why we record it. Also, why you've got my cell phone number to be like, Jack, what's a high lifetime value client? What'd you say about bidding? Just call me, text me, and whatever.
Okay.
All right. If for whatever reason you can't get the number out of them, the next step is always use a volume-based approach. A volume-based approach is going to protect you from underbidding. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, hey, our truck is about 10 yards. We typically charge about $50 per yard. That means it's $500 for a full load and $250 for a half load. How does that sound to you? Because you might think, hey, this is only going to be 5 yards, and you get in there and it's 7.5. So
Right.
you'd be like, hey, well, I told you it's $50 a yard. You can look in our truck right now, see how much room this took up. That way you're always going to be covered. So if you use a volume approach, do it.
Okay.
If they're like, hey, we need an exact number. We're not giving you our number. We don't care about your volume approach. And you need an exact number, be confident. Tell them your number and hold your ground.
Okay.
It's $500. Can you do $450? No. It's going to be $500. Be confident. Value the relationship, but be confident.
Gotcha.
Sound good?
Yep.
Cool. All right. And then last thing is if you went through all that and you gave them your number and they're like, hey, we got to go get 2 other bids. Always ask the client for last look. If you've done all of this here, if you've got a clear scope, you discussed approach, you did a social proof, you built all this credibility and they're still like, no, always ask them, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we value the relationship over everything. I hope that you enjoyed our time together here. I hope, We'd love to be able to earn your business. I understand that you need to go get a new bid. A lot of times, or another bid. A lot of times, I'll even agree with them. But like, hey, I'm a homeowner too. Life's expensive. If you go out and get another bid, the likelihood that you driving costs down, that might happen. I would do the same thing if I was in your shoes. Affirm it to them, and then ask them, hey, if you think we did good, or if you'd like to use this or whatever, would you mind if we got last look? Would you give us an opportunity to match that lowest number? It's good. And if you've done a good job of building credibility and building rapport, shouldn't be any issue doing that.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. And then the last thing we'll talk about here is pictures versus in person. Whenever you're able to, bid it in person.
Okay.
You cannot do this process very well over the phone. I can't do it very well over the phone. It is way easier to do that process while you're in person. So if you have to do it over the phone, make sure that you're asking a ton of questions, make sure you're asking for pictures, and then always give value-based pricing. Never stick to a number over the phone. I've gotten burned so many times by giving numbers over the phone. Oh yeah, that'll be $250. And we get there and it's 15 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Something crazy. But give them a value-based number over the phone. That was a ton of information.
Yeah, it's a lot.
A lot of information. How are we feeling? How are we thinking?
I'm feeling good. I feel like rewatching this will help just because it was a lot. But yeah, I think you did a really good job going over everything.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of information, but this stuff here, really this and this, it's gonna set you up for success moving forward. So you can build a few relationships and you can approach that with bidding in the way that we talked about. You're gonna be making. So lead gen, kind of based on where you're at, I think this is something that you probably should think about some more before we start diving into how much lead gen you should be doing. So what I do is over the next week, think about it and then text it to me.
Okay.
Call me or whatever, however you want to send an email. But hey, this is how much lead gen I think I should be doing. I think you should be doing at least 10 per day. And then I never work on the weekends. I don't know if you have a family. I've got 3 kids. On the weekends, I'm with my family. So 50 outbound leads or 50 outbound things per week should get you going off on the right foot.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see here. Casey, what is your? That's a Google Drive. I was thinking things. Where is my email? What is your? What's your email here? That's you here. All right, I'm just gonna email you this stuff. I'll call her real quick.
Okay.
You got it. Close out of this. So you excited to get going? I mean, how are we feeling here?
I'm feeling good. I've been excited for a while.
Yeah.
And just the closer I get to actually doing something, making progress, it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get that. It's I had never started a service business before this. I had done a few other things and but a lot of them I could just kind of run on my own. And so it was nerve-wracking at the beginning. It's like, what am I getting into? What's what's gonna happen here? But once you start landing a few jobs and it just becomes a lot of fun. It's kind of like you're playing a game. I started out my career as an accountant and I was making, I don't know, maybe I think like $55,000 a year right before I got ended up getting fired. I actually got fired from that job. And that equated to like, I don't know, $220 a day or something like that. And I was working my rear end off. Whether I worked 80 hours or whether like 20 hours, I got paid the same, which just really bothered me. And today I went out, we got a call this morning. I took the truck by myself, went and did a $250 junk removal job in 2 hours. And I'm like, I worked 60 hours a week for $220 a day. Today I went and threw trash into the back of a dumpster for 2 hours and made $250. You know,
Yeah.
and that actually turned out to be a cash job. The guy just Venmoed me. He was like, he's a contractor that we do work for. He's like, hey, I'd like to keep this one off the books. Are you cool with doing a cash job? I was like, well, we were going to charge 300, but if you do cash, we'll do 250. So yeah, sounds good with me. So I got paid before noon on it.
Nice.
You know, so it's cool to think about that, like
Yeah.
the opportunity that you have, and it's, you know, it's like you're really competing against yourself at the end
Yeah.
of the day. So I'm excited for you to get going. Very
Me
excited.
too.
And I'm excited that I get to be a part of your growth. Thank you for trusting us.
Yeah. Of course.
So, any other questions?
Not necessarily about anything we just went over, but have you sent that refund for the $6,500
So
yet?
no, not yet.
Okay.
They have been an absolute nightmare. The last notification I got from them was that they were just going to close my account and refund the customers. So they would do that on their own. Then I reached out to them and I said, okay, when's that going to happen? And their customer service is absolutely atrocious. So I haven't heard from them. So right now it's basically frozen, which is not your problem at all. It's my problem. Um, so if it does get refunded automatically, all I would ask is, you know, I'll send you a QuickBooks invoice if you could repay it. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll just kind of go from there. But unfortunately, I've done some research into this, and there's a lot of people that have this issue with them. A lot
Okay.
of people. So, but again, my problem, not yours. I appreciate you helping me out though, if it does happen, and
Yeah.
we'll go from there.
I just wanted to make sure I was looking for it if you send it back.
Definitely, yeah.
So
I mean, I will definitely notify you if it comes, because it is,
yeah.
you know, it's not like, you know, I know there's a lot of people out there that do like coaching or they do mentorships or whatever, and their job is out to get as many clients as they possibly can. That's not really what we're doing. I
Yeah.
want to work one on one with, I mean, I just spent, you know, an hour and 35 minutes with you on the phone. Um, if I was taking on a couple clients per week, there's no way I'd be able to do that. You know,
Right.
we're just taking on a couple people a month. I get to make a little bit of extra money from it, and I get to genuinely help people. You know, so my point with that being is like, you know, what you spent was a lot of money, and it's very important to me. Like that is going to help my family, and so if it does go out of the account and go back in years, I will 100% notify you
Yeah.
that it's going on. I'm not one of those guys that's selling, you know, several $100,000 a month of this. It's just not what it is.
Right.
So cool.
All right.
Any other
Oh,
questions?
and then one other thing. When can you remind me when the coaching calls are again?
Yeah, so right now they're on Mondays and Thursdays at 4 o'clock. We're both Central Time, so they're at 4 o'clock. Uh, are you on Slack yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a Slack channel called Coaching Calls,
Hmm.
and the day of the coaching call, I post a link in there just
Okay.
for the Zoom call. And then I'm thinking probably like when you and I we discussed one call per week. Right now I'm doing two. Um, there's some people in there that were, that were told and guaranteed two calls per week. Um, but probably around June 1st, I'm going to go down to one call per week.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that the information is valuable and that it's not repetitive, and we get a little higher turnout. So a lot of those calls, you know, I'd say anywhere from 2 to 12 people are on them. So if you show up and there's just a couple people there, it's another one-on-one. Bring your questions, you know, be ready to go.
Okay. Now, I mean, is it a problem if I just show up without any kind of questions or anything and just kind of
No,
tune in and Okay.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Be ready for me to call on you though.
Okay.
Be like, hey Casey, what's going on? How can we help? You're gonna have, anywhere from, like I said, 2 to 12, or probably 2 to 12 people in there that are doing the same thing that you're doing. They're all experiencing the same problems, same growing pains, or they just experienced them, or they're gonna experience them. So you talking on those calls and giving value, and the value that really you can give is just by asking questions. Hey, what kind of truck should I buy? I don't know what kind of truck to get. Where do you guys get insurance? It may seem like a dumb question to you, and you may not want to speak up, but it's benefiting you and everybody else on the call.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
And then again, Casey, the biggest thing here, while we do these one-on-one calls and all that stuff is great, you have unlimited access to me. Call me if you need me, please. Do not be a stranger. Call me, text me. If I can't answer, I'll call you back. I will say, do not email me. If you email me, I will never see it.
Okay.
I am a texter or a caller. It's funny, we got our phone bill the other day, and we have unlimited, obviously, and unlimited whatever it is data. My wife had 161 call minutes. I had 2,883.
Dang.
Yeah. It's like 48 hours and 6 minutes on the phone.
Wow.
So don't hesitate to call me. I want to help. That's why I'm here.
Okay.
So cool. Well, I gotta be honest with you. I'm not the best at sending these recordings. I gotta figure that out.
Okay.
But I will get it to you. I know that we are hiring a new person. They're onboarding Thursday, and they're helping me with all that stuff. So it may be before the end of the week before you get it. Also, this
Okay.
is going to be a pretty large file. So I might have to upload it to Google Drive or something and then share it with you that way. But I promise you I will get it to you.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome, Casey. Again, welcome. Glad you're here. Looking forward to watching you grow.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. All righty. Have a good evening. Watch out for
You
those
too.
tornadoes.
Oh yeah.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
See you.